to be together for this meeting will include two specific pieces of legislation that this committee will be handling. The first will be the Senate Amendment to H.R. 2028, further continuation and Security Assistance Appropriation Act of 2017, as well as S. 612, the Water Infrastructure Improvements for the Nation Act. The Senate Amendment to H.R. 2028 contains a short-term continuing resolution to maintain funding at the current budget cap level of $1.07 trillion until April 28, 2017. This legislation includes overseas contingency operation funds, including $5.8 billion for the Department of Defense and $4.3 billion for the State Department to support military efforts in the fight against ISIS and other threats that are being made against this nation, and to support the readiness of our troops wherever they may be in harm's way, in light and in darkness and in heat and in cold, as they protect this great nation with their faithful missions that stand before them. The second bill under consideration, the Water Infrastructure Improvements for the Nation Act, is a comprehensive legislation that addresses the needs of American harbors, locks, dams, flood protection, and other water resources that protect our infrastructure that are critical to the nation's economic growth, health, and competitiveness. There's been a lot of work done on this bill also, and we're pleased to know that it will be before us today. This legislation follows the strong bipartisan reforms included in the Water Resources Reform and Development Act of 2014, and adheres to the process Congress established in the 2014 law for oversight, review, and consideration of proposed water resources development activities of the Corps of Engineers. I'd like to welcome some of my favorite chairmen back to the Rules Committee today. Yes, sir, my big brother Fred Upton's going to be here. The gentleman from Pennsylvania, Bill Schuster, is going to be here. Rob Bishop, who has graduated from the Rules Committee, is chairman of the National Resources Committee. Among my favorite of all the chairmen in this House. You know that the work's going to get done when these chairmen show up. They've done their homework. They've worked on a bipartisan methodology basis. They're making sure that the best interest of the taxpayers is taken care of, but we're going to move forward with great exuberance to unleash in this great nation an opportunity for the American people to know that the people's work has been accomplished. So, before we go any further, I also want to thank the gentleman from Pennsylvania, Mike Doyle. Coach, thank you for being here today. If you'll please take this seat up here, we appreciate it. And before we come to you, without objection, anything you haven't ready will be into the record. Look forward to your testimony. We're going to defer to the gentlewoman, the young woman from New York, for any opening statement she'd choose to make. Gentlewoman recognized.
The young woman couldn't make it today.
Well, you're here, Louise, and that's good enough for me.
I have no opening statement. I just thank you as usual for your good work. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I will put Peter's statement in a little bit.
Good. Thank you very much. Okay. Look, she's not here yet. A lot of members are busy this afternoon, but we're going to also wish Virginia Fox the very best. These flowers that are here and in celebration of Virginia's is all about. I did ask the gentleman, Mr. Doyle, to please come forth, and I'll ask him again. Mike, do you mind sitting right there? Yes, we're going to share.
Did you, Mike? Okay.
If I can make sure you've got those green lights on.
Yeah, Mike.
Thank you very much.
Again, I want to thank the Rules Committee for considering SS 612, the Water Infrastructure Improvement for the Nation, or the W.A.A. Act. This comprehensive water infrastructure bill includes Water Resources Development Act as Title I. And I want to thank Ranking Member DeFazio for working with me on WRDA, and the Ranking Member said she will submit his statement for the record. Appreciate that. However, this is a bigger than just WRDA. I also want to thank the Energy and Commerce Chairman, Mr. Upton, Chairman Upton, and Natural Resources Chairman Rob Bishop for working with me. And this is an example of where we have shared jurisdiction, where we worked very well together, and there is no need for us to take each other's jurisdiction. We can come together and work together to get this type of legislation done. And so it's been a great pleasure working with these two gentlemen, and certainly want to thank our counterparts in the Senate for helping us, for working with us on this. I'm not going to describe the two chairmen's titles. I'm sure they're going to do it, but the W.A.A. Act is a win for America because it includes the Water Resources and Development Act, which the House passed in September, 399 to 25. This legislation provides important direction for the Congress to the Army Corps of Engineers in their mission to improve our infrastructure. The bill strengthens America's competitiveness, creates jobs, and grows the economy. The W.A.A. Act maintains Congress's constitutional authority to ensure our infrastructure is safe and effective, and I think that's, for me, one of the most important things, and I hope we, as we move forward in Congress, continue to claw back our constitutional authority so that it has to go through Congress and not just through the bureaucracies downtown. Following our reforms from the 2014 WRDA bill, we've increased transparency and we're empowering, again, the congressional authorization process. This bill contains authorizations for 30 chiefs reports, 8 post-authorization change reports for projects across the United States. All Corps projects authorized in this bill are locally driven, reviewed by the Corps of Engineers according to strict congressionally established criteria, presented to Congress for consideration for WRDA bills. These improvements are critical, local, and regional priorities that provide significant national, economic, and environmental benefits. For just an example of some of the provisions included in this bill that positively impact regions and states throughout the country, the authorization for the Everglades Port Everglades, authorization for Boston Harbor, provision pertaining to Kettewick, Man, a provision relating to the recreation fees in the Corps facilities from states like Georgia, North Carolina, Colorado, all benefit, an authorization for the Upper Ohio River, authorizations for 2 Army Corps district headquarters that cover western New York and Massachusetts, and authorization for improvements throughout Texas, and many, many more. These and other WRDA provisions aren't just critical for parts of the country, they're important for the nation as a whole. In addition, the bill increases flexibility, removes barriers for state, local, and non-federal interests to help build infrastructure. This measure is also fiscally responsible. We deauthorized $10 billion, and we authorized just shy of $10 billion, so they're fully offset in the authorizations are. Further, the bill reduces the deficit by over $500 million. The bill also sunsets new authorizations to help prevent future backlogs. And the Act pertains no earmarks. I don't know if I'm particularly that happy about that, but I needed to say it. Today's legislation restores... Thank you very much, Fred. Today's legislation restores regular order. The 2-year cycle of Congress, we're considering these essential bills. This has been one of my top priorities. There were only 3 WRDA bills enacted between 2000 and 2014. I think that record is unacceptable. Every delay in regularly passing a WRDA bill places America another step behind our competitors. So again, next year we plan on moving another WRDA bill. This bill maintains our competitiveness by advancing crucial water resources infrastructure improvements, restoring regular order, and getting Congress back on that 2-year WRDA cycle. I want to thank my colleagues for considering this, and I ask all my colleagues to support WRDA and the W.A.A. Act. I yield back.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. Mr. Bishop, I want to take the second and tell you that this committee has missed you. We're proud of the work that you're doing in natural resources, or at least most of the members of the committee are very pleased with your work, and we're going to give you a chance to defend that now the gentleman's recognized.
Thank you, I think our section of this bill probably dwarfs the other sections of the bill as far as number of pages that are there. And clearly, subtitle C is easily the best part of the bill that we are presenting. Okay, which happens to be mine. So, The concept, obviously, is that water issues are extremely important to the arid West, but this is not just for the West. Of the 29 states that actually are impacted and helped with this particular bill, only 17 of them are found in the West, plus Indian country at the same time. This bill specifically goes back to help Native Americans by repairing or authorizing the repairing of their aged dams and irrigation canals. It finalizes Native American rights settlements in California and Oklahoma and in Montana. And it also has some land exchanges and transfers to Native American communities, which are successful. In addition, it goes to Lake Tahoe with some sound forest management areas that have been added into this particular bill. And it also helps other communities in the West battle the drought simply by authorizing storage and even local alternatives like desalination and water recycling. But the basic premise behind our section of this bill is simply, if the water is going to be raining down, catch it before it goes away and store it for the future as what is necessarily needed. I hope you got the idea that we have an Indian water settlement in Oklahoma. Want to make that very clear.
Follow this very closely.
All right. There also is the ability of doing some provisions in there so that if you have a Bureau of Reclamation project and you wish to pay it back early, it authorizes you to do that. That could bring up to $600 million yearly into additional revenue coming into the country if we simply allow that. And finally, the California piece of this has been negotiated with the senior senator from California, a Democrat who's in favor of it, as well as the majority leader from our side, who is a Republican from California. And they've been able to come up with elements of the bill that we passed, taking out many of the controversial parts and only things that were finally agreed upon by those two individuals, which is not a total solution to the problem, but is a very good step forward to it, and it does so without undermining the Endangered Species Act. Now, I say it does not undermine the Endangered Species Act, not as a way of validating and applauding this effort, but simply as a matter of fact. I would be happy to invalidate the Endangered Species Act, but this doesn't do it. It simply enforces it and reinforces what's going on, which means that section of it's been endorsed by everything from the National Council of American Indians to the Family Farm Alliance, and it's been vetted. I think it's a good addition to the bill.